Welcome back. In this session, we are going to discuss about the baseband reception techniques. This is Unit 3. In the previous two units, we have discussed the waveform encoding schemes in Unit 1 and channel encoding schemes and line encoding schemes in Unit 2. Waveform encoding techniques are used to convert the analog waveform into a digital waveforms. The channel encoding techniques are used to provide error detection and error correction capability within the codes. And the line coding techniques is used to convert the digital data into a proper electrical waveform. These are all the things we have discussed earlier. Here we are going to briefly discuss about the baseband reception techniques under this unit. After completing this unit, the students may be able to explain the various baseband reception techniques. Before getting into the baseband reception technique, first we have to briefly discuss about the baseband communication system model. While studying that, we are also going to discuss briefly about the intersymbol interference as well as the ISI free communication environment, which is described by Nyquist and also called as Nyquist criterion. So let us start with the model of a baseband communication system, in which we are going to consider three parts. One is the transmitter part, and the next is the channel part, and next is the receiver part. Here we are going to transmit a digital data through additive white Gaussian noise channel, and also the channel is assumed to have intersymbol interference. We will briefly discuss about the effects of intersymbol interference, how this kind of impact is occurring in the channel very briefly in the next consecutive slides. We are going to transmit the information through a band limited channel. We are assuming this channel is band limited to WH, and also it is a additive white Gaussian noise channel. Generally, this additive white Gaussian noise is not present in the channel. It is occurring inside the receiver part. Anyhow, we are dealing it with the channel. This parameter is relevant to the system, is not only by means of the channel, because this additive white Gaussian noise is a thermal noise which occurs due to the random motion of the electrons of active components present in the receiver, electronic components of the receiver. Anyhow, we are modeling this noise inside the channel by considering the receiver is noise free. The receiver equipment is noise free. We are assuming this noise as noise in the channel part. That's why we are calling this channel as additive white Gaussian noise. So let me assume the pulse shaping filter, which is called as a transmit filter, whose impulse response is Ht of t, and the channel's impulse response as Hc of t, and the additive white Gaussian noise as n of t. And in the receiver part, we are having four different blocks. The first one is receive filter, the next is equalization filter, then is sampler, then is the decision device. So at last, the transmitted information is estimated. If we assume x of n is the transmitted symbol, here at the end of the receiver, that transmitted symbol is estimated. That's why x n cap is represented. This is the estimated version of the transmitted symbol xn. And the data rate of the transmitter is determined by the symbol period of a particular symbol x of n. Suppose I am transmitting 100 symbols per second, then one symbol will have a duration of 1 divided by 100 seconds. That is 0.01 second. That means always Ts is the symbol duration and R is the data rate of the transmitter, and we know that R is always is equal to 1 divided by Ts. And this data rate is achieved during the presence of, the additive white Gaussian noise channel, whose bandwidth is limited to Wh, as I have represented in the diagram. And in the receiver side, we have discussed 4 different blocks. The first block is receiver filter, whose impulse response is Hr of t, and then is equalization filter, whose impulse response is mentioned as He of t, and then a sampler, which is used to sample at a time instant t is equal to n into Ts, where n is a non-negative integer starting from 0, 1, 2, and is going up to the end, that is total number of bits that is it is receiving, total number of symbols that it is receiving. That means at the input of the receiver, we are assuming the information as R of t. R of t is received. So R of t is nothing but the output of the channel plus n of t. The output of the channel plus n of t, and that is passed through 2 filters, Hr of t and He of t. We will briefly discuss about the receiver filter and equalizer filter in the later classes. And then the output of the equalizer is assumed to be y of t. And the sampler is sampling at t is equal to nTs. So at the receiver end, at the output of the sampler, we will have the output as y of n into Ts. And this is allowed through a decision device in which we are having, this is sample. Y of nTs is the sample. This sample is compared with the threshold inside the decision device, and it is making an estimation of the particular symbol transmitted by the transmitter. Now, R of t can be written as, so the output of the transmitter filter can be written as xn convolution of Hk of t, and at the output of the channel we can consider it as xn convolution of Hk of t convolution of Hc of t. So R of t is nothing but the output of the addition of the output of the channel and the additive white Gaussian noise. So it can be written as xn convolution of ht of t convolution of hc of t plus n of t. And this ht of t convolution with hc of t can be written as htc of t. This is the combined impulse response of the transmitter, filter and the channel. So the signal received by the receiver is given by R of t is equal to summation of k is equal to minus infinity to infinity htc into t minus kts plus n of t. That is, the convolution sum is expanded. This is the convolution sum. So the convolution sum is expanded like this, whereas htc of t is nothing but the convolution between ht of t and hc of t. ht of t is the impulse response of transmit filter, and hc of t is the impulse response band limited channel. And this R of t is the signal received at the front end of the receiver. So while coming across several blocks, it is being converted into different numbers. So at the output of the receive filter, R of t is convolved with HR of t. Because here all the impulse responses and the systems are assumed to be linear time invariant system. That's why the convolution process is occurring on each and every block. So this R of t convolution with HR of t is given to the equalizer as an input. So at the output, y of t is nothing but R of t convolution of HR of t convolved with HE of t. This is nothing but y of t. So the output of the equalizer can be written as y of t is equal to summation of k is equal to minus infinity to infinity x of n into h of t minus kts plus z of t. Since R of t can be expanded as xn convolution with ht of t convolution with hc of t. So R of t can be expanded such a way that x of n convolution with hc of t convolved with hc of t convolution sum of hr of t convolution with he of t. So all these four impulse responses, the convolution sum of all these four impulse responses are combinedly called as h of t. So it is simply represented by x of n convolution with h of t. So it can be simply represented like this. And Z of t is the processed noise. Or we can say it as band limited noise, which is processed by the receiver filter as well as the equalizer filter. Because n of t is the input, because R of t consists of plus n of t, because here we have considered only one part, because R of t is nothing but plus n of t. So if you add plus n of t here, it will be represented by n of t convolution with hr of t convolution with he of t. So all these will be represented by Z of t, that is processed noise. So h of t is nothing but the convolution of the impulse responses of the transmit filter and the channel and receive filter and equalizer filter. Now this is y of t. Now this y of t is allowed to the sampler. Now the sampler will do sampling and it will take the samples at time t is equal to n into ts. So at that time, if you substitute t is equal to n ts here, if you substitute t is equal to n into ts, you have to substitute n ts in these places. So you will get like this, xk into h of n ts minus k ts plus z of n ts. So you here ts is common, so you can take it outside. So this will become h of n minus k into ts. And if you substitute k is equal to n, you will get y of n ts is equal to xn. If you put k is equal to n, this will become h of 0. So for all other values k not equal to n, this will not be 0. So we are taking the term k is equal to n. From this summation, we can write it as xn into h of 0 plus summation of k is equal to minus infinity to infinity, but k not equal to n. But k not equal to n, xk into h of n minus k into ts. This summation involves all the values of k from minus infinity to infinity, but not equal to n. It is omitting the value of n plus zn ts. This expression consists of three different terms. The first term is xn into h of 0. This term consists of the transmitted symbol because x of n is transmitted by the transmitter, and which is scaled by the channel's impulse response at t is equal to 0. That means h of 0 is nothing but ht of 0 convolution with hc of 0 convolution with hr of 0 convolution with he of 0. This is nothing but h of 0. It is scaled by the transmitted symbol is scaled by the channel's impulse response. This is the first term. Now let us consider the second term. The second term consists of various shifts in the channel impulse response, which is considered as a delayed version, and which is also having x of k. That means this x of k, suppose the transmitted symbol x of k is transmitted again and again for every shift depending upon the value of k. For example, x of 1 is transmitted, it will be transmitted at x of n minus 1. If x2 is transmitted, h of x minus 2, and it involves x3 h of n minus 3 into ts. I am not writing the ts value here so that we can able to simply distinguish. So if you put x of 0, x0, it is having x of n. I am considering this as y of n. Y of n is, we can write like this. Suppose if you substitute n is equal to 1 here, you substitute n is equal to 1 here, y of 1 will consist of x of 0, h of 1 plus x of 1, h of n minus 1, sorry, h of 0 plus x2, h of 1, h of minus 1 plus x3, h of minus 2, and it is going on. If you substitute n is equal to 2, y of 2 can be written as x0 h of 2 plus x1 h of 1 plus x2 h of 0 plus x3 h of minus 1, and plus it is written like this. Actually, for y of 1 at n is equal to 1, we need to receive x1 alone. At y of 2, we need to receive x2 alone, but instead of x1, at the time n is equal to 1, at the instant n is equal to 1, we are receiving x0, x2 and x3 also. Similarly, at n is equal to 2, we need to receive x2 alone, but instead we are receiving x0, x1, x2 as well as x3 and x4. That is replicated of information is again and again receiving. Instead of receiving the intended information, we are also receiving the nearest symbols also. That's why the term, this repeated term is called as inter-symbol interference, because the symbol is interfering into the portion of the another symbol. Actually, at the instant n is equal to 1, I need to receive only x1 of x1 alone. At n is equal to 2, I need to receive x2 alone. But instead, all the symbols are interfering in this particular symbol duration. We are calling this as inter-symbol interference. That's why the repeating term is referred to be inter-symbol interference. Which is simply abbreviated as ISI. This effect is called as ISI. And Z of NTS is nothing but the sampled noise at the output. So the effect of this additive white Gaussian noise can be alleviated by, or can be replaced, or can be equalized with the help of incorporating the channel encoding and decoding process at the transmitter and at the receiver respectively. But the effect of the inter-symbol interference cannot be overcome or cannot be alleviated with the help of channel encoding and decoding process. That's why we need some kind of another process to overcome these effects. We shall briefly discuss how this inter-symbol interference occurs while we transmit a pulse signal through a band limited channel. Let us consider a pulse signal. which is having a symbol duration of Ts. Let I am going to transmit this symbol through the channel. So if I take Fourier transform of this particular pulse signal and let you consider the amplitude A. In frequency domain, it is having it is represented by sinc function where 1 by Ts is the data rate. Data rate, or otherwise we can call it as the bandwidth. This is what we are having. This sinc function is infinite in extent. But if we allow this signal through a band limiter channel whose bandwidth is WH, let me assume a band limited channel, ideal band limited channel, and whose data rate, whose bandwidth is equal to the data rate exactly at the band, at the base band itself. So if you allow this infinite extend signal through this particular bandwidth, in time domain it is being convolved as we see here, because the output of the channel filter is the convolution of the symbol with its impulse response. So in frequency domain, if this xn of t is convolved in time domain with the impulse response of the channel, then in frequency domain it is multiplied. Xn of f is multiplied with hcf. So while multiplying this, what you will get at the input of the receiver, irrespective of the additive white Gaussian noise, because we are here we can assume an environment where n of t is 0. So if it is being multiplied, this one is multiplied, this particular main lobe will come here, and all the side lobes will get replaced by 0, because here the channel is having 0 frequency response on both the end greater than the data rate of the system. So now if you take inverse Fourier transform of this particular received signal, that is, this is R of f, received signal. So R of t is in time domain, what we actually get is the signal is expanded in time domain. Actually, it has to lie between minus Ts by 2 to Ts by 2, but the signal is expanded in time domain, in time axis also. That's why if this is the first symbol, then it interferes the position of the next symbol, because if the first symbol occurs between minus ts by 2 to ts by 2, the next symbol will occur from ts by 2 to 3ts by 2. But unfortunately, due to the insignificant transmission within the perfect ideal band limited channel, we have to face the time dispersion in the time domain signal. The dispersion in the time domain signal, it is interfering into the portion of the next symbol. That is why the phenomenon is called as inter-symbol interference. So if you want to avoid this inter-symbol interference, instead of transmitting this exact rectangular shaped signal, we need to change another kind of signal. If we assuming the duality property, if the sinc function is generated, if a symbol is represented by a sinc function instead of a rectangular function, then the Fourier transform of the sinc will be the exact rectangular shape, band limited shape at the frequency domain, so that we can avoid the inter-symbol interference. But unfortunately, we cannot produce the sinc function in practical. So this is what explained in this context. The pulse waveform is represented by rectangular pulses in the case of binary symbols 1 and 0. So the spectrum of these rectangular waveforms are always sinc in nature, which is infinite in extent. And this spectrum of digitally modulated signal is the shifted version of the spectrum of the rectangular pulses by an amount equal to the carrier frequency. And the frequency content of the digitally modulated signal is also infinite in extent. However, the transmission of the digitally modulated signal having infinite frequency content through a band limited wireless channel introduces the signal distortion at the receiving end. That is, it is having a time dispersion at the time domain. And this can also be occurred due to the multipath propagation of the signal in the free space in wireless channels. Because of this multipath propagation, we can have the multiple versions of the transmitted signal at the receiver end, and which will causes a rapid amplitude fluctuation, which will reduce the quality of the received signal, which is simply called as multipath fading. This multipath fading causes inter-symbol interference. There are two possibilities for the inter-symbol interference to occur. One is the transmission of the rectangular signal through a band limited channel, and another one is the multipath fading. There are two different cases which is having a long symbol, the transmission of a symbol which is having a larger duration, and the transmission of a symbol which is having a smaller duration. The symbol duration is inherently representing the data rate of the system. If we want a good data rate system, the symbol duration should be very short enough. If the symbol duration is large, then the data rate of the system will be small, because the data rate of the system is inversely proportional to the symbol duration. If the symbol duration is large, then the filter response will be sufficiently enough so that the inter-symbol interference can be avoided. But what we have, the disadvantage of this system is poor data rate system. If we want to attain a good data rate system, or a faster transmission system, faster communication system, we need a greater data rate. For the greater data rate, the symbol duration is shortly mentioned. So if the symbol duration is shortly mentioned, one symbol will interfering into the another because of the time dispersive nature of the channel, band limited channel. Because of this, that is, one symbol is interfering into the portion of the another symbol. Here you can distinguish, I will distinguish it with different color. Let the red color is the symbol 1. It is assumed to be the symbol 1, and the green color is representing the symbol 2, and the blue color is representing the symbol 3. That is, it is X1, green color is X2, and blue color is X3. Now you see the sampling time of X1. This is the sampling time of X1. We can see that X1 is also present, X2 is also present in this duration, and X3, a small portion of X3 is also present in this duration. That means interference of all the previous symbol within this particular time duration, observation time duration of one symbol, is called as inter-symbol interference. If we want to avoid this inter-symbol interference, we need to do a mathematical analysis to avoid this inter-symbol interference. Let us take the output of the receiver, that is the output of the sampler, which is represented by y of nts, whereas this particular term is called as inter-symbol interference. If we want to avoid this inter-symbol interference, this term should be, the h of n minus k ts should be equal to 0. And this h of 0 should be equal to 1. Then we can avoid this inter-symbol interference. That what we choose is h of nts should have del of n, should be equal to an impulse. That is, this h of nts here refers to the combination of ht of nts convolved with hc of nts convolved with hr of nts convolved with he of nts. And this should be an Dirac delta function. If it is a Dirac delta function, and if n is equal to 0, it will be 1, and if n not equal to 0, it will be 0. So if we substitute here, h of 0 will become 1, and for all other values, it will not be equal to 1. For example, if you take this equation, y of n equation, assuming x of, substituting the values of k, x1, h of n, if you put k is equal to 0 here, x1, h of n, x2, h of n minus, x naught, h of 0, h of n, x1, h of n minus 1, plus x2, h of n minus 2, plus x3, h of n minus 3, and it is going on. If y of n, if you put n is equal to 1, at the time n is equal to 1, y of n will be, y of 1 will be x of 0 into h of 1 plus x of 1 into h of 0 plus x of 2 into h of minus 1 plus x of 3 into h of minus 2 and go on. Now the intentional signal is x of 1 into h of 0. If h of n is a Dirac delta function, it will have, that is h of 0 is alone having 1 and all other h of n will have 0 values. So this will become 0, this will become 0, this will become 0, this term will become 0 and this term will become 1. So exactly we can have y of 1 is equal to x1, which is transmitted by the transmitter. This is what we are actually needing. And this type of transmission is called as ISI-free transmission or ISI-free communication. In frequency domain, this condition can be expanded as summation of k is equal to minus infinity to infinity h of f minus I by ts is equal to ts, where h of f is the Fourier transform of h of n ts. So these two equations are called as Nyquist criterion or the condition for ISI-free communication. Even though if we are going for a shorter symbol duration for having a high data rate transmission. In the next session, we shall discuss about how this Nyquist criterion or ISI-free communication is achieved in ideally as well as in practically.